NFC East. Wow. Cole Sports presents on the daily. Welcome to another week. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Cole Johnson here on the mic as always. On the daily, presented by Cole Sports is on tap. And if you haven't already, like this video. I want to hear what you have to say. So comment below and don't forget to hit that notification bell to get any premieres of any videos that come from this channel and subscribe to said channel. And the shirt that you see right before you, you see it, go get it. Description box below has the deets. And this is Monday, right? So since we're talking Monday, we got to be talking a list thing, right? Quite simple, right? And we're going to talk about the NFC East. They're the star division in the conference, let alone the league of the NFL. But they're also the worst. And here are the reasons why they are the worst, and even why they are the one reason why they are prominent. The list is coming right at you. You have the Washington football team, but I call them the Washington NFL franchise. I will do so until they actually have a nickname suitable to mention. The Cowboys from Dallas, the Giants from New York, the Eagles from Philadelphia. Now, before I even get to the teams itself and why I think they are atrocious, let's get to the reason why they're prominent. Look at where they are. New York is the number 1 DMA. Philadelphia is the number 5 DMA. Dallas is number 4 DMA. And Washington is the number 8 DMA. Now, what does DMA stand for? It means designated market area. In layman's terms, it means eyeballs in a certain area. So this division possesses the most eyeballs in the entire league. And it probably stands to reason that they have more eyeballs in this than maybe even a couple of divisions combined. That is how populous these 4 teams are. So that means populous areas, populous fan bases. The attention is totally and squarely on them. So when they do well, you know the attention is great. But when they do horrible, you already know where that goes. So I already told you why they're prominent. Why do they suck? And why are they awful? We'll go to the first team that's on the list, the Washington NFL franchise, otherwise known as the Washington football team. Yes, I know they've been in existence since 1932. That's obvious. But the problems they've had have been of recent. Take, for example, the team name itself. Now, 7 years ago, almost 8 now, the current owner of the team, Dan Snyder, was adamant about saying that he was not going to change the franchise's nickname. He said you could even put it in print and you can record me saying it. It's not going to happen. Well, it's a funny thing that happens when people pressure the stockholders and the boardroom, I should say, and the board members of the team to twist the arm of the advertisers of said team, chiefly amongst them FedEx. Yes, I know, same company that owns the naming rights to FedEx Stadium. Oh, and it so happens to be the stadium in which the Washington NFL franchise plays. So it stands to reason you twist the arm of the advertisers, the name changes quick. And so they couldn't come up with a nickname, so now the Washington football team is what they're called. But that's part of the reason why that has been so draining, because it's been an issue years and years and years in the making to solve. Now, I also mentioned, owner issues. I mean, you have Dan Snyder, who has been the owner of the team for over 25 years. And, He's had some up and down decisions just dealing with the on the field issues of the free agents he picked, because most of them seem to be well past their prime, but he shoved a whole ton of money in their faces. For example, Deion Sanders, for example, Albert Hainsworth. And I can go on with many of the other free agents that he signed that are far past their prime. He seemed to ease off of doing that in recent years, but in easing off of throwing a whole ton of money toward free agents that weren't worth the cheddar, he decided to simply make it rain with the other women that were not his wife. So yes, there were stories that leaked out that there's sexual improprieties between him and the former head coach of the team, Jay Gruden, not to be confused with John Gruden, who coaches the Las Vegas Raiders. Ugh. A mess is there still. They haven't really cleaned that up yet. And then there is a quarterback controversy. Now, Dwayne Haskins was the starter of the team. Ron Rivera, the coach of the Washington NFL franchise, decided to bench him in lieu of Kyle Allen. Now, Allen played with Rivera when Rivera was the coach of the Panthers. Some cried that this was a racism thing because, well, you have guys like Mitchell Trubisky who can just simply make mistake after mistake, and he's in his fourth year and he didn't get the axe until now. Haskins didn't even get 10 games in and he gets the axe. You have to understand, he isn't really, I guess you could say, beloved with the organization because, well, he really wasn't the pick of the former head coach. He really isn't the choice of the current head coach. He really is the choice of the owner. And that makes me think that Haskins will get his shot to get back on the field. But Rivera is thinking, well, this division is well in hand. We're only a half a game out of first. We need to get a spark somehow, somewhere, some way. After all, we did beat the team that's in the front running position. So he's looking for a spark, and he didn't think Haskins could provide it. He figures Allen can. I don't think he can, but that's a horse of a different color. But it's a mess in the nation's capital. Well, let's go up a ways to the Big Blue, shall we? The second team in the division, the New York Football Giants. Now, they are in a youth movement. I think that's the best way to put it, but I'll talk about that in a minute. To me, the major problem of this team is the general manager of the club, Dave Gettleman. And he has made questionable decision after questionable decision. And I don't need to even talk about the questionable decision making he has made. I only need to talk about one factor, and that is this team, this current team, the 2020 makeup. He actually said on air, quote, "We're putting a very competitive NFL team on the field." Close quote. See, I don't need to talk about anything else about him because the team's horrible. They haven't won a game yet. Owner issues. Now, I'm sorry. Now, along with that, the youth movement. I mean, you have a young quarterback in Daniel Jones. You have a young running back in Saquon Barkley, who unfortunately is out for the season. Debilitating injury, which absolutely drained the rest of the energy that was, well, minuscule at best, out of the whole team. Understandable. But the protection for both has been horrendous. The Giants are known for having a stout offensive line, and the line that they have currently doesn't cut the mustard. I mean, just look, Barkley's injured, and Jones is running for his life. Do I need to say anything else about this team? They're putrid. And I hate to say that about the Giants, but they are. But from one team that has offensive line issues to another, and well, let's be honest, we could say this about all four of these teams. But in particular, this team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is a team that has the current, or I should say the most recent Super Bowl championship in their case. Unfortunately, they just seem to be falling like flies when it comes to injury. And also, along with the injury bug, the team seems to be in this Super Bowl malaise. It's like they have this ring, which they garnered in 2017, but it seems to slow up the works of how far they could go, starting not necessarily in 2018, but starting last year. And yes, last year they put up a 9-7 record. They won their division, but it was quite easily known that they just simply did not have what it took to beat anybody else outside of the NFC East. And how can they? I mean, it's like it's a mass unit when you read who is out. And I'm not even talking about Wentz, which I will talk about in a minute, but offensive line issues because of injury, defensive line issues because of injury, wide receiver issues because of injury. Just look at Deshaun Jackson, who's in and out the lineup. Running back issues because of injury. I mean, this team is just riddled with a lot of injury problems. And how can they go far if they can't sustain any continuity because of injuries? And then the guy who is the franchise player of the team, Carson Wentz, one, he does too much. Two, I think he still thinks about that injury he took to the leg back in December 2017 in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. And then there's Doug Peterson, the coach of the Eagles, who seemingly does not have the confidence in his team. Just look at that tie against the Bengals for proof of that. And speaking of coaching decisions that causes doubt with the rest of the team, how about the last of the four, the star, the Dallas Cowboys? Now, along with them having the most nauseating fan base in all the NFL, I'm not talking about them. This is the most talented team of the four, and it's not even a debate as to who is in the running for that. They have the most talent, but they underachieve the most. Oh, you doubt me? Look at that defense. Look at what the Browns put up on them. Look at what the Falcons put up on them. Look at what the Seahawks did to them. Do I even have to go on? 38, 39, and 49 points. The Browns ran up 300 yards on the ground against them. Other than Alden Smith, that whole defense is horrible. And point that finger at the defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, who got off the scrap heap, but he's horrible. Oh, and speaking of coaching, the head coach now, Mike McCarthy, you wouldn't know that they did a coaching change at Dallas because this same team looks the same way under Mike McCarthy as they did under their previous head coach, Jason Garrett, who now is the current offensive coordinator for the Giants. They move the same, they look the same, they have the same sense of urgency, which basically is little to none. And the worst offense of them all, they are itching to prove that Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. I mean, they are longing, they are desirous to have him be this guy. And because of it, they ignored the elephant in the room, the most talented player on the team in Ezekiel Elliott, and he does not tote the rock at all. Or I should say he totes the rock very little. You should not have your franchise quarterback throw 50 times a game, or I should say in the case against the Browns, almost 60. You should not have your quarterback throw that many times unless you're playing in overtime. 500 yards is great. 500 yards in a loss is still a loss, so it doesn't matter. So what do I think about the NFC East? It is very simple. 4 teams, all in disarray, all are horrible, but all play with the scope squarely on them. They are the teams that get the most run, but they also are the division that's the worst of all 8 in the NFL. Now, if you think otherwise, I want to hear what you have to say. Like this video, please. In the description box below, tell me which team you think in the NFC East is going to come out the NFC East champ. And don't forget to hit that notification bell and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for the growth of this channel. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. I hear you. And I continue, VIP, to do this for you. For all of us at Cole Sports, I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily.